on page 13 of our notes, the top part is still talking about perfect squares. So we're going to do two different things. First, it says we need to identify the two consecutive integers in which each square root lies between. So a couple of words we need to make sure we understand. Consecutive means in a row. Integers, remember, are your positive and negative counting numbers. So we're talking about like -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. So in both directions. So those are your integers. So what you can do, there's two different ways you can do it. If we look back at our list in the front, we can find, so our first one was a square root of 10. 10 is between 9 and 16. So we know then that the square root of 10 has to be between 3 and 4. All right, so you would look here, figure out 10 is in between these two, so therefore the square root of 10 has to be between 3 and 4. So that's how you can do it without a calculator. With a calculator, you can just simply do the square root of 10. So for these calculators, remember you do second and then the squared button to get square root 10 and 3.16. So if you think about on a number line, if this is 3.16, 3 would be here and 4 would be here. So your answer is 3 and 4. The square root of 10 is between 3 and 4. So if we look at number 11, the square root of 115. 10.7. So that means it's between 10 and 11. Okay, again, 10.7, 10 would be here, 11 would be here. Number 12 has the square root of 59. 7.68, so that means it's between 7 and 8. Again, if you think of 59 from what we did on the front, 59 would be in here. So since 59 is between these two numbers, the square root has to be between 7 and 8. Now, when it comes to negatives, it's a little bit trickier. So if you think about negative square root of 41, so you might want to type the negative part in there. Negative 6.4. So most people put -6 and -5, but that is incorrect. Again, if you think of on your number line, -6.4, -7 is here and -6 is there. Okay, so you need to go subtract to go to the left and add to go to the right. So it's between -7 and -6. Number 14, the square root of negative square root of 3. -1.7. So again, if you think of a number line, -1.7 would go there. -2 would be on that side. -1 would be on that side. So it's between -2 and -1. Negative square root of 206. -14.4. So again, -14.4. -15 is down here and -14 is there. So it's between -15 and -14. So if you can just remember, you need to go down 1 to -15 and up 1 to -14 to get the ones that's in between. The next thing we want to do is approximate, so that means we're going to round it to the nearest tenth. Remember, your tenth is right here, so you're going to look at that second number, and that will tell you if you're going to round up or down. So we have the square root of 84. So we're rounding to one spot, so this 6 tells this 1 to go to 2. So 9.2 is going to be our answer for that one. 17. negative square root of 27. We're looking at that 1. The 9 tells the 1 to become a 2, so negative 5.2. And then finally the square root of 145. 12, and then that 0 is what we're looking at. The 4 tells the 0 to stay. So this one we're actually going to just put as 12. So since it's said to round to the nearest tenth, again, that's that 0. That 4 tells that 0 to stay. So that one's actually going to be a whole number. So now that we've looked at squares, we're going to look at cubes. So as you can see down here, cube is to the third power. So the cube of an integer is called a perfect cube. So we have perfect squares when you multiply a number by itself one time. And then we have perfect cubes. So the reason is because if you find the volume of a cube, you have to do length times width times height, and all three of those are the same. So you'd multiply by itself 3 times. So 1 times 1 times 1 is still just 1. 1 to any power is still 1. 2 to the third power means 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, and another 2 makes 8. These are not ones that I expect you to know in your head. 3 to the third power, 3. Then remember you use this little arrow, caret, to the third power is 27. We can do 4 to the third power, and we get 64. 5 to the third power gives us 125, and we can keep going and going. 6 to the third power gives us 216. 7 to the third power gives us 343. 8 to the third power gives us 512. 729 for 9 to the third power. And 10 to the third power is 1,000. So if you remember, when you take the square root, you can have a positive or a negative. Okay, because 2 times 2 is 4, but negative 2 times negative 2 is also 4. When we do a cube root, so that's what we're going to do down here. So the opposite of cubing a number is finding the cube root, just like the square root. All integers have only one cube root. So it is possible to take a cube root of a negative number. Okay? The only number you can cube or multiply itself 3 times to get 8 is positive 2. Okay, right up here. 2 times 2 times 2 gives us 8. If you want to get negative 8, if you do negative 2 times negative 2, that's 4, but then another negative 2 gives us negative 8. So negative 2 cubed would give us negative 8. So if you want to make sure, negative 2 to the third power gives us negative 8. So it is possible to do negative. So if you look down at number 21, we have a negative inside. That's okay because it's a cubed root, not a square root. So these are a lot trickier to put in your calculators. You have to put the 3 that represents this cube root first. So you do 3, and then you do second, and your caret, your exponent button. So it looks like that. So this little X is telling us we're doing a cubed root, and the 3 tells us we're doing a cubed root, even though it doesn't show it up there. Okay, so cubed root of 64 equals 4. And you can see that up above as well. So now we have the cubed root of 343. So again, you have to push the 3 first, second caret. Okay, so second and then this caret for the cubed root of 343. And that gives us 7. And again, you can look up here and notice that 7 cubed was 343. Again, when we had square roots, we could not do the square root of a negative number, but you can do the cubed root of a negative number because 3 negatives will make a negative. So 3 second caret negative 27. And that gives us negative 3. So even though we don't have the negative ones listed up here, if you would put a negative in front of there, that means a negative would go in front of the 3. All right, again, hopefully you know this one. What times itself 3 times would give you negative 1? If not, 3 second exponent key, negative 1, gives us negative 1. The only way you can get 1 or negative 1 is itself. Next one, cubed root of negative 2,197. So 3 second exponent key, negative 2197, gives us negative 13. And finally, the cubed root of 512, 3 second exponent key, 512, gives us 8.